Hey Brick Bloggeteers, Will here, and today we're looking at set 10330, McLaren MP4/4, or MP44, and Ayrton Senna. Now this is the Icons version of the car. I'm sure anyone who's built a Speed Champion set have built plenty of McLaren Formula One race cars, but this is a big version. And I've always been a fan of the large Icon set, and this is actually the first race car that they've actually released for the Icons. Now, one thing that did catch, and it's for $80, which is actually on the low end for an Icon set. So, was very interested. Now, one thing that did surprise me is this is the first Icon set that I know of that actually comes with a minifigure. Every time, it's always some sort of accessory that's to scale with the car. That'll be a magazine for the back seat, a surfboard, a picnic basket, a painting easel, those type of things. So I was like, why does this one have a minifigure? Turns out, when this car actually got to racing in Formula One, it was in 1988. And the person who won the world championship was Ayrton Senna. So he actually brought a huge amount of popularity to the car itself, and it actually helped define it. He won the world championship 3 times, one in 88, one in 90, and one in 91. And unfortunately passed away fairly early on in his life in 1994 after a pretty bad wreck. All right. But he is renowned as one of the best Formula One race car drivers in the world, and if you watch him race, people admit that he's just fun to watch. All right, now for the McLaren MP44. They don't make race cars like this anymore. You see, back in the 80s and into the 90s, they created these Formula One race cars with turbocharged engines, which made them extremely powerful. In fact, you can lift off a section here to see the Honda motor. There's actually printing on this casing that mentions Honda, but that's a representation of the V6 motor that went into this vehicle. Now, the whole issue with a car this powerful is they're built for speed, of course, and power. You're talking about a car that has something like 1,200 horsepower. Today's Formula One race cars only have around 800. So when you see a world record for, especially when it comes to speed from Formula One, chances are it's going to be in this time period because the cars were so fast. You're talking about going over 300 kilometers an hour or over 200 miles an hour for the US audience. Additionally, we can see at this angle that the wheels are very low when it comes to in line with the body of the car. In fact, it has such a low profile that the builders of this model says they got it to be about 2 plates high off the ground. So you're going to need to run it on very flat surfaces. These tires are pretty new to me. They're actually solidly built throughout, so even the wheel hub is part of the wheel. I've seen wheels similar to this, but they were used as counterweights in like the haunted house because they needed something that could turn that still had a lot of weight and a lot of resistance to them. This actually helps the car stay on the ground, and it makes it easy to change. You just have to pull off one of those little half bushes, pull off the wheel, and you can switch out the wheel. Not that they give you extra wheels to deal with. The stickers on this set are mostly found on the sides of the vehicle. So the shell, logo, number, things like that, McLaren, all those on this side are stickers. If you look on the top down, this front part of the nose cone, that's a sticker. However, the part that leads up to the windshield, that's all printed. And in fact, that's a new shape for Lego. It's an elongated wedge. The name Senna right behind this little lift arm, That's a sticker. But the McLaren in this two-tone, that's actually 2 tiles, both of them printed, make up this back rear wing. And then I did mention, like right on the edge, they even have little printed squares just so that they get the right look throughout. There is a whole ton of printing on this set. Of course, when it comes to the plaques, those are also stickers. So you do get your fair amount of stickers in this set. Now, I did mention in the article there were 2 elements that really got me, and it wasn't necessarily the wheels or the new suspension, but it was harder to see elements like these 2x4 elements. These are inverted tiles that I've never seen in 2x4. I've seen them in 2x2 and 1x3, and I think there's a bigger one that's like 4x8. But 2x4 seems pretty handy when it comes to building things, especially sideways. Now, the other element I really like is very surprisingly hidden right by this wheel. I actually have to remove the 1x4 tile so that we can see it. It's a 1x2 tile with a cut 45 degree over one of its studs. That's going to be very, very popular for anyone using it for very detailed decorations. And they hide 2 of them, a left and a right, in this set. One on this side and, of course, one on the other side. And it's the only ones in this set. But I'm glad to see that they're here because I know plenty of builders that are dying for a part just like that for decorative elements. Now, despite the fact that this has such a very low profile, they did manage to make it so that it has the ability for the steering wheel to turn the front wheels, which is very impressive. Again, it's because they're building out specialized suspensions to still serve that purpose. Underneath the section right next to the wheel is actually a socket for a ball connector, which is what we normally find in suspensions like this where there's a steering mechanism. They didn't do anything different in terms of how the steering is built, other than the fact that they managed to fit it into such a thin-lined vehicle. And that's primarily what makes this vehicle so different, is because it's so flat to the ground, because it's made for the speed. This was absolutely fun to just dive into the history of, find out about Ardent Senna, find out about the McLaren MP4, and just see all the power, engineering, innovation that went into this, and how insanely dangerous these cars are. So again, that's set 10330 McLaren MP4 and Ardent Senna.